Magandang araw, sambayanang Pilipino. Magandang araw, mga kabinggo. Welcome sa ating palatuntunan, Pygmalion Escapades. Ito ay isang vlog na itinataguyod ng inyong kaibigang Bingo. Today, we are facing our greatest challenge as a people and our existence as a nation. Ang ating hinarap ay isang challenge, hindi tungkol sa pandemic ng COVID-19 at sa dala nitong deadly variants. But ang ating pinakamatinding pagsubok na dinadaanan ngayon ay pandemic ng disinformation, pandemic ng misinformation at fake news. It cannot be denied. Hindi maikaila na may mga lakas of forces in our society today that are deliberately trying to revise the history of the Marcos era or trying to revise Philippine history itself. Naggusto nilang palitan ang istorya ng Pilipinas. Palitan ang mga totoong pangyayari at ito ay ating tinatawag na historical revisionism, where historical facts, events, and records ay gustong palitan para mapabango ang imahen o reputasyon ng isang tao na naging persona non grata sa ating lipunan, katulad ng mga Marcoses, na naging outcast at one time in the history of our country, naging pariya sa isang yugto ng istorya ng Pilipinas. Meron ding mga puwersa o forces of denialism, kung saan hindi tinatanggap ang katotohanan, bagkus gusto pa itong palitan ng ibang klaseng istorya. Itong forces of denialism attempt to erase kung ano ang katotohanan. At ang mga historical facts at events ay pinapalabas na hindi totoong nangyari, na ito'y mga kathang-isip lamang, that they are just figments of imagination. For example, sinasabi ng mga Marcoses at ng kanilang mga loyalists and apologists na wala daw silang nakaw na yaman. But the records will show otherwise. Kahit sinasabi nila na mayaman na dati ang mga Marcoses at walang rason na sila ay magnakaw ng yaman ng bayan. We will try to answer this principal question. Kung totoo ba na ang mga Marcoses ay nagnakaw ng yaman ng Republika ng Pilipinas. So ano ba ang layunin ng mga fake news, misinformation, and disinformation na ito? Ang sagot, mga kaibigan, ay mismo nanggaling kay Dr. Jose Rizal, our greatest national hero, na matatagpuan sa ilang aklat na kanyang sinulat. Ang trajectory ng mga kilos at galaw na ito ng mga kampo ng mga Marcoses ay ang tinatawag na miseducation of the Filipino people. They wanted to miseducate us sa maling paniniwala. At according to Rizal, that the worst thing that can happen to a nation, to a race, to the Filipinos, ay kung sila ay ma-miseducate of the real history of our country. Gusto ng mga undesirable forces na ito na gawing bubo o robot ang mga Pilipinos. Gusto tayong ikulong ng mga puwersang ito sa maling paniniwala. At tayo naman ay gusto natin ilahad ang katotohanan. So we will try to answer the principal question. Totoo ba may nakaw na yaman sa kaban ng bayan ang mga Marcoses? Sasagutin natin ang tanong na ito on the basis of historical records, facts, and events, on the basis of documentary evidences and reputable and unimpeachable sources, not on the basis of chismes, wild allegations, and concocted facts and events. We can do this, as I will be shown later. Para sa akin, we have to blame some people here. Yung mga taong binigyan ng responsibilidad ng ating pamahalaan, ng ating mamamayan, na siyang mag-conduct ng thorough investigation at ipaalam sa sambayanan ang resulta ng kanilang investigasyon upang maliwanagan ang ating mga kababayan sa tunay na mga pangyayari. Ano ba ang ebidensya natin na ang mga Marcoses nagkaroon nga ng nakaw na yaman? Magkano ang nakaw na yaman? Si former Ambassador Stephen Bosworth, American Ambassador to the Philippines, way back in 1986, according to him, to Mr. Bosworth, who made a report to the U.S. Congress about this, ang mga Marcoses daw ay nagkaroon ng ill-gotten wealth between $5 to $10 billion. Si former Senator and Senate President Obito Salonga estimated the ill-gotten wealth to be also between 5 to 10 billion dollars. Si former Secretary Jess Stanislao and Dr. Bernie Villegas of CRC ay may estimate na about 30 billion dollars. So ang tanong, out of this estimated ill-gotten wealth taken by the Marcoses, magkano ba ang na-recover ng Republika ng Pilipinas? How much was recovered by the Republic of the Philippines? According to the former chairman of the Presidential Commission on Good Government, or PCGG, na si Attorney Andres Bautista, ang PCGG sa pamamagitan ng agency na ito had recovered around 172 billion pesos, which is equivalent to $4 billion. Sa makatwid, kung itong estimate na ito ay accurate, ang mga Marcoses ay meron pang isa sa uli sa ating gobyerno na about $6 billion na dapat i-recover ito ng ating pamahalaan. Paano ba nalaman ng gobyerno ng Pilipinas na ang mga Marcoses ay nagkaroon ng ganitong kalaking nakaw na yaman? Way back in 1997, ang Presidential Commission on Good Government under Senate President Tobito Salonga, who later on became the chairman of PCGG, or Presidential Commission on Good Government, nag-file ng case sa Swiss court sa Switzerland, kung saan inilatag ng ating gobyerno sa gobyerno ng Switzerland na ang mga Marcoses ay nagnakaw ng ill-gotten wealth from the Republic of the Philippines. At ito'y gustong bawiin ng ating gobyerno. So, ang ginawa ng Pilipinas is to file a case, a petition, na ang kaso na ito ay umabot ng Supreme Court. Mga kabingo, let's listen to the interview of Attorney Andres Bautista, former chairman of the Presidential Commission on Good Government, by ace broadcaster Christian Esguerra of ABS-CBN.
So unang-una, gaano po ba talaga kalaki? Kasi usually yung estimate po is at least $10 billion. So accurate po ba yung estimate na yun?
Well, yun ang naging estimate ni Ambassador Stephen Bosworth, U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines, before the Marcoses fled. No? And in fact, he filed this with the U.S. Congressional Committee. Si Senator Jovito Salonga, ang kanyang estimate dun sa kanyang libro ay 5 to 10 billion dollars.
Okay.
Pero meron ding mga dalubhasa, lalo na si Secretary of Finance, dating Secretary of Finance Jess Stanislao, at si Dr. Bernie Villegas ng CRC. Sa kanilang palagay, ang estimate ay closer to 30 billion dollars. So Christian, ito mga 30 billion. Sila'y nandito pa, kaya siguro in a subsequent, pwede mo silang kausapin.
Okay. So doon sa pagpalagay na lang po natin yung at least $10 billion. Doon po sa estimate na yon, gaano karami na yung nababawi ng gobyerno ng Pilipinas as of today?
Okay. During the Pinoy administration, as of 2016, I think ang nabawi was about 172 billion pesos. So sabihin mo ng, again, mga 4 billion dollars. No?
Okay.
Pero nga, kung ang estimate mo ay 10 billion, so may 6 billion pa. At ito
Okay.
dapat nating parating maalala. 10 billion was the estimate as of 1986. You can just imagine kung gaano nakalaki ang perang ito ngayon, which is,
Oo.
35 years later.
Kasi nagkakaroon pa siya ng ng mga interest, no?
Exactly. At pwede natin pag-usapan, pati nga yung mga ari-arian na binili nila, ang laki na talaga nung paglago.
Okay. Sige. Pero bago yan, papasagot ko sa inyo yung mga basic. Kasi even para sa akin po as a journalist, no? So when I started sa industry, well-established na yung Marcos ill-gotten wealth. Especially with all the court litigations na nangyari. Tapos yung 2003 Supreme Court decision, yung Hawaii class action suit. So parang ano na siya yung well-established fact. Kumbaga meron tayong baseline information to go by. Pero ngayon lately, I'm sure na monitor nyo, even the basic facts are being denied. Hindi lang siya being revised, no? Hindi lang siya being tawag dito. Hindi lang siya kumbaga resulta ng historical revisionism. Talagang dinideny na siya that it ever existed, no? So ano yung mga sagot nyo sa ganyan sa tuwing lumulutang yan, especially online? Wala namang nakaw na yaman ng Marcos. A very basic question.
Yun ang nakakatakot talaga, Christian, no, sa ating lipunan ngayon. Kumbaga, alam mo, kunyari, anong kulay ba itong damit? Sabihin mo, ano ba yan? Red or pink? Sasabihin ng iba, hindi, fuchsia. Pwede naman yun kasi kahit na paano, merong relation. No? Pero ang nangyayari nga ngayon, yung itim, ginagawang puti. At yan talaga sa aking palagay, yung talaga ang pinakamalaking hamon na hinaharap ng ating lipunan, lalo-lalo na itong ating eleksyon. No? So, talagang ang lantarang sinasabi, wala raw nakaw na yaman. Talagang mahirap paniwalaan yun dahil napakadaming ebidensya. And I can tell you a lot, no? Kung gusto mong himayin,
Sige po.
meron tayong mga court ruling. Sabi mo nga, yung July 2003, July 15, 2003 court ruling ng Supreme Court, it was a unanimous decision of the 15-person Supreme Court, and it was penned by then Associate Justice Renato Corona, na sinasabing over and above $304,000 yung pag-aari ng mga Marcos ay maituturing na nakaw na yaman. No?
Okay. At magkano po yung nabawi nung Supreme Court decision na yun? Kasi naibalik po yun sa Kaban ng Bayan, di ba? So magkano po?
Yun ang naging susi para maibalik yung Swiss deposits. Swiss bank deposits na $685 million.
Okay, ganun kalaki, no? So siguro sa mga nanonood at nakikinig sa atin, imagine gano'ng kalaki ang 680, at least $680 million. Pero sabi ng Supreme Court, ang legal na kinita lang ng mga Marcos nung nasa pamahalaan sila, si Ferdinand Marcos Sr. at saka si Imelda, magkano po? Nasa
$304,000. Of course, in Philippine pesos nila sinabi yun.
Okay. So, ang presumption, or ang conclusion, lahat ng perang meron sila at yaman, beyond that legal income, ay nakaw po. Tama po ba?
That's right. Yun ang sinabi ng ating Korte Suprema. Sabi ko nga, 50 members yan at unanimous yung naging decision.
Okay. Pag lumulutang po yan, pag pinapaliwanag po iyan, yung Supreme Court decision online, ang sagot ng mga loyalista ng mga Marcos, hindi po nakaw yan. Dati nang mayaman kasi yung mga Marcos. Okay. Ano yung naiisip nyo sa tuwing nadidinig nyo yan?
Well, kung meron sila kayaman, sinasabi naman natin, hindi naman talaga din sila pulubi. No? At kumbaga, talaga namang he was already a senator when he ran for president at meron silang bahay sa San Juan. So talaga naman meron silang ari-arian. Pero talagang napakalaki ng diferensya nung kanilang pag-aari na ilang tan. No? At pwede natin ang himayin yan, yung mga buildings sa New York. Yung
Okay.
mga bahay sa Hawaii, bahay sa Beverly Hills, LA, sa Long Island, sa New Jersey, yung mga ginamit ng mga bahay ng mga anak nila nung sila ay nag-aaral sa Amerika. Okay? At maliban dyan, Christian, yun na lang mga painting na hinahanap pa rin ngayon ng PCGG, no? Yung mga alahas na kanilang binili at ngayon ay nasa Central Bank ng Pilipinas, yan ang nagpapatunay talaga na napakarami nilang nalikom na pag-aari nung sila ay nasa poder.
Okay, isa-isahin po natin. Paano po nangyari to? Kunwari, nag-consider ng Manhattan property, no? Tama po ba? This was a
Tama yan.
building.
Okay.
After the EDSA revolution, the government of the Philippines was able to discover that the Marcoses maintained secret accounts in several banks in Switzerland. Immediately thereafter, the Presidential Commission on Good Government, under the leadership of former Senate President Vito Salonga, filed a case in the District Court of Switzerland. And eventually, that case was elevated to the Federal Court of Switzerland, where our government lawyers, led by Senate President Vito Salonga, filed a petition to freeze the secret accounts of Marcoses in Switzerland, so that in sometime in 1997, the Federal Court of Switzerland granted the petition in order to freeze all the monies and assets kept in secret accounts in several banks of Switzerland, especially the Credit Suisse account or Swiss credit account, where most of the hidden money were kept. In 1997, the Federal Court of Switzerland granted the petition of the Philippine government through the PCGG, or the Presidential Commission on Good Government, and ordered the freezing of assets and monies kept in the secret accounts of the Marcoses in Switzerland. The freezing of the account was followed by an order of the bank or of the Federal Swiss Court to grant the petition of the Philippine government for the release of the funds kept in those secret bank accounts to the Philippine government. Then thereafter, the Federal Court of Switzerland ordered that lahat ng mga na itatago sa mga secret accounts na yan ay ibalik na sa gobyerno ng Pilipinas and remitted the same to the Philippine National Bank, where it was kept there in escrow. Meaning that while the money has already been remitted to the Philippines, to the National Bank, the Philippine government cannot withdraw yet the money because it's still in escrow. So, the Presidential Commission on Good Government, who handled the case, filed a petition a case before the Sandigan Bayan for the forfeiture of the money in the accounts, kept in secret accounts. Then the case was eventually elevated to the Supreme Court. Mga kabingo, let's listen again to the interview of Attorney Andres Bautista by broadcaster Christian Isguera.
So may pinatunguhan na punta sa mga beneficiaries sa Agrarian Reform Program at saka doon po sa mga naging biktima ng Marcos Martial Law. Okay. Ipuntahan po natin ibang mga buildings sa binanggit nyo. Ito madalas na po ito ma-report before, no? Pero I realize magandang pag-usapan siya uli. Yung Beverly Hills property, ano po ito?
Okay, ito yung isang property na iniregalo ni Mrs. Marcos kay George Hamilton, na isang Hollywood actor, no? At ang pagkaalam, well, hindi daw talaga naman irinegalo, kumaga pinangalan lang sa kanya. At again, no, maraming dokumento na nagpapakita na maliban dyan sa property na yan, marami ring nagpautang kay George Hamilton upon the behest of Mrs. Marcos, no, yung mga Floyrendo. Yan, well documented naman yan. Tinutulungan si George Hamilton, pati yung kanyang nanay na si Anne. Binili pa nga yata yan ng isang Rolls Royce. At saka si George Hamilton ay meron ding access doon sa kanilang mga condo sa Olympic Tower. At yan, nakakatuwa yan, Christine. Yung Olympic Tower is along 5th Avenue and I think 44th Street, no? At meron silang 4 na condominium units dyan. Ito'y nasa tapat ng St. Patrick's Cathedral. Kaya dun sa mga nakapunta na sa New York, alam nyo na talagang this is in the, kumbaga, in the middle of the city. At maraming taong talagang gusto dyan manirahan.
Malapit po ito sa ano, no, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, sa Rockefeller Center?
That's correct.
Okay. So, when you say sila, baka Marcos, Imelda.
Yes, oo. Pero again, ginagamit nila yung mga cronies and for these condo units. Again, it was Antonio Floyrendo ang siyang naging kumbaga dummy ng mga Marcos. At ang nagbabayad ng mga HOA ay yung kanyang social secretary na si Vilma Bautista.
Okay, nadidinig natin yan sa Vilma Bautista, no? Controversial yan, especially dun sa pagbawi rin ng mga paintings, tama po ba? Much later.
Ang tanong, ano ba ang kahalagahan ng desisyon ng Swiss Federal Court? Ang desisyon ng Swiss Federal Court ay nag-establish na ang mga Marcoses, lalong-lalo na si former President Ferdinand Marcos, ay nagkaroon ng secret bank accounts sa ilang bangko ng Switzerland. At doon na napatunayan na siya ay nagmamay-ari ng mga bank accounts na yun gamit ang mga aliases at pangalan ng kanyang mga cronies. So napaka-importante ang desisyon na ito sa tanong kung meron bang ill-gotten wealth ang mga Marcoses sa Switzerland to establish that mayroon talagang nakaw na yaman ang mga Marcoses stashed away in Swiss banks in Switzerland. Ngayon, ano naman ang kahalagahan ng desisyon na ito ng Korte Suprema na may pitsa na July 15, 2003? Ang desisyon na ito, mga kabingo, ay masyadong mahalaga para sa sambayanan. Kasi sa desisyong ito, na-establish rin na si Marcos at ang kanyang pamilya ay siyang nagmamay-ari ng mga ill-gotten wealth na ito na nadiskubre ng Presidential Commission on Good Government. Ang desisyon na ito na may GR number 152154 dated July 15, 2000 ay may pamagat na Republic of the Philippines Petitioner versus Honorable Sandigan Bayan, Special First Division, Ferdinand E. Marcos, represented by his estate, heirs, Imelda Romualdez Marcos, Maria Imelda Aimee Marcos, Manotok, Ferdinand E. Marcos Jr., si Bongbong, and Irene Marcos Aranita as respondents. Nasabi ko na mahalaga ang desisyon na ito. Kasi dito sa desisyon na ito, makita natin kung paano minaneuver ni former President Ferdinand Marcos na makapagbukas, maka-open ng secret bank accounts doon sa Switzerland. Sa desisyon na ito, makikita natin na as early as after the election of Ferdinand Marcos as President of the Republic of the Philippines in 1965, ay nagsimula na siyang magplano kung paano siya makapagbukas ng secret bank accounts doon sa Switzerland. Meaning to say na hindi pa na-declare ang martial law, mayroon ng plano si Ferdinand Marcos na magbukas ng secret accounts where to stash money from the Philippines to Switzerland. Kung basahin natin sa kabuuan ang desisyon na ito ng Supreme Court of the Philippines dated July 15, 2003, makikita natin kung paano plinano ni Marcos ang pagbukas ng secret accounts sa Switzerland way back in 1968, kung saan ginamit ni Marcos ang mga dummy corporations na ginawa niyang parang siyang may-ari ng secret bank accounts na ito sa Switzerland. In other words, gumamit siya ng layers of corporation para maitago ang mga tunay na may-ari ng mga bank accounts na ito. Ano itong mga foreign foundations na ito na ginamit ni Ferdinand Marcos sa pag-open ng sekrito ng mga deposit account? 5 itong, he started with 5 dummy corporations. Number 1, Asjuverso Vivor Foundation. Accounts, mahaba ito ang pangalan. Number 2, Sunday Wintroff, Charis Square. Ang hirap ng spelling, no? Number 3, Trinidad Raybay, Palmi Foundation. Number 4, Rosalis Aquamina. Number 5, Malir Foundation Accounts. Nagpapalit-palit lang o nagro-rotate lang ang mga members of trustee ng mga dummy corporations na ito. Pero yung mga beneficiary ay the same. For example, si Ferdinand Marcos as first beneficiary or Imelda Marcos as second beneficiary. So nagpapalit-palit lang sila ng members ng Board of Trustee, pero yung mga beneficiaries ay ganun pa rin. For example, itong Asia Verso, Before Foundation, sinasabi rito na on June 11, 1971, Ferdinand Marcos issued a written order to Dr. Bercho, legal counsel of KSA or Swiss Credit Bank, for him to establish the ASIO Foundation. On the same date, Marcos executed a power of attorney in favor of Roberto S. Benedicto, empowering him to transact business in behalf of the said foundation. Pursuant to the said Marcos mandate, ASIO Foundation was formed on June 21, 1971 in Vaduz. Then, nag-appoint rin siya ng dalawang members of the Board of Trustee. Ang isa ay si Dr. Helmut Mirling, who were designated as members of trustees of the said foundation. Ferdinand Marcos, dito sa ASIO Verso Vivor Foundation, ay pinangalanan na first beneficiary, and the Marcos Foundation Incorporated was second beneficiary noong November 12, 1971. As early as 1971, mga kabingo, ito nang ginagawa ng ating ang dating Presidente Ferdinand Marcos. Pinaplano niya pala ang lahat kung paano mailabas yung mga ill-gotten wealth dito sa Pilipinas. Noong 1972, pinalitan ni Marcos ang first and sole beneficiary ng Cherish Foundation. This was recorded in December 4, 1972. On August 29, 1978, the ASIO Foundation was renamed Verso Foundation. The Board of Trustees remained the same. On March 11, 1981, Marcos issued a written directive to liquidate Verso Foundation and to transfer all its assets to account of Fides Trust Company at Bank Hoffman in Zurich under the account reference OSER. The Board of Trustees decided to dissolve the foundation on June 25, 1981. Ano ang sinabi ng Supreme Court o Korte Suprema? It says, in an apparent maneuver to bury further the secret deposits beneath the thick layers of corporate entities, Ferdinand Marcos effected the establishment of Vivor Foundation on May 13, 1981 in Vaduz, Switzerland. Ano pa ang sabi ng Supreme Court? Sinabi nito na it is certain that the Vivor Foundation is the beneficial successor of Verso Foundation. Then it further says that on March 18, 1986, the Marcos designated Board of Trustees decided to liquidate Vivor Foundation. A notice of such liquidation was sent. However, the bank accounts and respective balances of the said Vivor Foundation remained with Swiss Credit. Apparently, the liquidation was an attempt by the Marcoses to transfer the foundation's funds to another account or bank, but this was prevented by the timely freeze order issued by the Swiss authorities. One of the documents obtained by the PCGG from the Swiss authorities is a declaration signed by Dr. Ivo Beck, the trustee, stating that the beneficial owner of Vivor Foundation is Ferdinand E. Marcos. Another document signed by G. Rabir of SKA shows that Vivor Foundation is owned by the Marcos family. So makikita natin dito, mga kabingo, na ang participation at involvement ni Ferdinand Marcos at saka ng kanyang pamilya ay talagang maliwanag. Ano pa ang sinasabi ng Supreme Court sa isa pang dummy corporation na pinangalanan na Sandy Winthrop Charis Colare? Ang sabi ng Supreme Court ay ganito: this is the most intricate and complicated account group. As the flow chart shows, two groups under the foundation organized by Marcos dummies nominees for Ferdinand Marcos' benefit eventually joined together and became one account group under the Avertina Foundation for the benefit of both Ferdinand Marcos and Imelda. This is the biggest group from where the $50 million investment fund of the Marcoses was drawn when they bought the central bank's dollar-denominated treasury notes with high-yielding interests. On March 20, 1968, after the second year in the presidency, Marcos opened the bank accounts with SKA using an alias or pseudonym, William Saunders, apparently to hide his true identity. The next day, March 21, 1968, his First Lady, Mrs. Imelda Marcos, also opened her own bank accounts with the same bank using an American-sounding alias, Jane Ryan. Found among the voluminous documents in Malacanang shortly after they fled to Hawaii in haste, that fateful night of February 25, 1986, were accomplished form for declaration specimen signatures submitted by the Marcos couple. Under the caption signatures, Ferdinand and Imelda signed the real names as well as the respective aliases underneath. These accounts were actively operated and maintained by the Marcoses for about 2 years until their closure sometime in February 1970, and the balances transferred to Sunday Corporation. The Sunday Foundation or Sunday Corporation was established on March 3, 1970. And FM or Ferdinand Marcos and Imelda issued the written mandate to establish the foundation to Marcos Gil of SKA on March 3, 1970. In the handwritten regulations signed by the Marcos couple, as well as in the typewritten regulations signed by Marcos Gil, both dated February 13, 1970, the Marcos spouses were named the first beneficiaries, the surviving spouse as the second beneficiary, and the Marcos children, Aimee, Ferdinand Jr. Bongbong, and Irene as equal beneficiaries. Ano pa ang sabi ng Supreme Court? It says, it is certain the beneficial successor of Winthrop Foundation is Avertina Foundation. The balance of category CAR as of December 31, 1989 amounted to $231,366,894, while that of category NES as of December 31, 1983, the balance was $8,647,190. Latest documents received from the Swiss authorities included a declaration signed by Ivo Beck stating that the beneficial owners of Avertina Foundation are Ferdinand Marcos and Imelda. Another document signed by G. Rubber of Iske indicates that Avertina Foundation is owned by the Marcos family. Ano pa ang sabi ng Korte Suprema? It says, the other group of foundations that eventually joined Avertina were also established by Ferdinand Marcos through his dummies, which started with the Charis Foundation. The Charis Foundation was established in Vaduz on December 27, 1971. Here, Dr. Theo Virtue acted as founding director in behalf of Ferdinand Marcos by virtue of the mandate and agreement dated November 12, 1971. Ferdinand Marcos himself was named the first beneficiary and Sunday Foundation a second beneficiary in accordance with the handwritten instructions of Ferdinand Marcos on November 12, 1971 and the regulations. FM gave a power of attorney to Roberto S. Benedicto on February 15, 1972 to act in his behalf with regard to Charis Foundation. On December 13, 1974, Charis Foundation was renamed Scolari Foundation, but the directors remained the same. On March 11, 1981, Ferdinand Marcos ordered in writing that the Balamo Foundation be liquidated and all its assets be transferred to Bank Hoffman in favor of Fides Trust Company under the account reference OMAR. The board of directors decided on the immediate dissolution of Balamo Foundation on June 25, 1981. Isa pang foundation na tinatawag na Spinos Foundation was established on May 13, 1981. At ang inilagay na members of the foundation's board of directors ay ito palaging mga pangalan na nakikita natin sa mga ibang foundation. Itong si Attorney Ivo Beck and Limag Management. Now, anong sabi ng Supreme Court? It is certain that the Spinos Foundation is the beneficial successor of the Balamo Foundation. Then on September 6, 1982, there was a written instruction from Spinos Foundation to close its Swiss franc account and transfer the balance to Avertina Foundation in August 1982. So makikita natin na the securities of Spinos were transferred to Avertina. Punta naman tayo sa Trinidad Rebay Palme Foundation accounts. The Trinidad Foundation was organized on August 26, 1970. Imelda issued a written mandate to establish the foundation to Marcos Gill. The regulation as well as agreement, both dated August 28, 1970, were likewise signed by Imelda. Imelda was named the first beneficiary and her children, Imelda, Aimee, Ferdinand Jr., and Irene, were named as equal second beneficiaries. Documents received from the Swiss authorities included a declaration signed by Dr. Ivo Beck stating that the beneficial owner of Palmi Foundation is Imelda. Another document signed by Rabir shows that the said Palmi Foundation is owned by Marcos families. Rosalie's Aguamina Foundation accounts. Rosalie's Foundation was established in 1971 with Ferdinand Marcos as the beneficiary. Its articles of incorporation was executed on September 24, 1971, and its bylaws on October 3, 1971. The foundation maintains several accounts with Swiss Bank Corporation under the general account 516960, where most of the bribe monies from Japanese suppliers were hidden. On December 19, 1985, Rosalie's Foundation was liquidated and all its assets were transferred to Aguamina Corporation, Panama. They confirmed that no change of beneficial owner was involved while transferring the assets of Rosalie's to Aguamina. Hence, Ferdinand Marcos remains the beneficiary of Aguamina Corporation account number 53300.